Ajit Doval was the mastermind behind it, and he formed the PDP party in Kashmir. It was January 20th, 1945, in Uttarakhand's Pauri Garhwal, where Major G.N. Doval used to live, that Ajit Doval was born. Ajit Doval's father was a major in the army, and his mother was the cousin of the former Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, H.N. Bahuguna. Now, since his father was in the army, he was transferred to Rajasthan, so Ajit Doval completed his schooling at Ajmer, Rajasthan's Indian military boarding school. Then, in the year 1967, he attained a master's degree in economics from Agra University. And in the following year, in 1968, he took the UPSC exam for the first time and cracked it in his first attempt. At that time, he was just 22 years old. Now, after being selected for the IPS, he was trained and then became the ASP in Kerala's Kottayam district. A few days after he became ASP in Kerala, on December 28, 1971, an incident took place that made Ajit Doval famous in a very short amount of time. Actually, what happened was in Thalassery of Kandahar district in Kerala. There was a hotel named Noor Jahan, where a person had thrown a shoe from the first floor, and a fight arose between two religious groups because of it. The situation in this area worsened so much that riots started arising. People began looting each other. Both groups started looting things from each other's shops and even burning them as well. The situation worsened to the point that even the police were scared of going into this area. At that time, the government was formed by Congress, and Congress's Home Minister, K. Karunakaran, was under a lot of pressure. So he was searching for an officer who wouldn't be scared of going into this area, someone brave who could stop these riots somehow. The senior officers told him that there was a new officer who was very sharp-minded and brave. They suggested Ajit Doval's name. Listening to all the senior officers, K. Karunakaran gave the responsibility to stop these riots to Ajit Doval. Ajit Doval reached this area on January 2nd, 1972, after receiving instructions. Where the officers were scared of going, Ajit Doval started roaming the entire area. Ajit Doval began collecting even the minute details by visiting there. He used strategic intelligence gathering techniques instead of direct force. He deployed heavy police only in those areas where the entire coordination of these riots was in function. After doing this, without using sticks, he identified the leaders of both groups who were leading these riots and talked to them himself. He started negotiations. After talking to them, he understood that the main reason for the rage was the stolen goods. Ajit Doval retrieved the properties looted by rioters and returned them to their rightful owners. The riots that had been occurring for days ended within a week without any violence. Former Director General of Police, Alexander Jacob, made a report on these riots, and when this report came back, Ajit Doval's strategy was praised a lot. He became very famous at that time as well. On the other hand, Indira Gandhi was very worried about Mizoram. At that time, Mizoram was a part of Assam. It wasn't a separate state. Mizoram's area was facing a drought, and people were asking for compensation of 1.5 lakh rupees. When they didn't get it, a man named Lal Denga formed the Mizo National Famine Front, which was later renamed the Mizo National Front. Lal Denga criticized the government regarding the issues of the Mizo population and raised their voices on their behalf. Now, Mizoram was part of Assam, and in Assam, a rule was made that only those who knew the Assamese language would get government jobs. Regarding this, the Mizo National Front, led by Lal Denga, stood against the government, and common people supported him a lot as well. The situation went out of control when the Assam Rifles Regiment, in which the Mizo population was in the majority, had 2 of their battalions dismissed. When these 2 battalions were dismissed, the soldiers came back to their area very angry. There were 7 main commandos among them who had lost their jobs. They returned and started helping Lal Denga, saying that the government was doing injustice and that they needed to pick up weapons. From here, Lal Denga and the MNF became very strong and they started violence against the government. They began talking about separating Mizoram from Assam. In fact, they attacked the BSF, replaced the Indian flag with their own, and announced Mizoram as a new country. Before moving forward, I want to discuss a common problem: misalignment in teeth. According to studies, 40 to 50% of adults deal with teeth misalignment. Now, it might seem like a small problem, but due to crooked teeth, not all teeth can be cleaned properly, which can cause problems like plaque. In fact, it can even cause speech problems and affect our oral health. So, you can understand how important teeth alignment is for both our looks and our health. If your teeth alignment isn't correct, you should try Toothsee's teeth aligners to improve it. You can schedule Toothsee's free dental checkup at home or at their experience centers, which I've done myself. With this, you'll get to know about your teeth and oral health. If your alignment isn't correct, you can use Toothsee's teeth aligners and make your teeth straight within 6 to 10 months. These aligners are invisible and very comfortable. They are very easy to remove and put on, and Toothsee guarantees results. Toothsee has designed smiles for more than 3 lakh people, and I've seen others get good results myself. So, book your free teeth scan on Toothsee's website or app. The link is in the description. Now, coming back to the topic. The biggest problem for the government was that the local population supported the MNF a lot, along with these 7 commanders. The biggest challenge for the Indian government was that the local population supported Lal Denga's MNF a lot. Even if they took any military action, it would backfire on the Indian government. This was a very complicated situation, and to deal with it, Ajit Doval was sent to Mizoram. A former director of the IB said that Ajit Doval wasn't sent. Instead, he himself said, "Send me there. I'll make things better." So, to deal with it, Ajit Doval was sent to Mizoram as the head of the subsidiary intelligence bureau. Within a week of Ajit Doval's arrival in Mizoram, he started collecting all the small details. He learned that Lal Denga had enormous power due to these 7 commanders. These 7 commanders and Lal Denga weren't getting along. They had a conflict. These 7 commanders had set up their base in the mountains of Myanmar. Ajit Doval entered these mountains as a spy agent. Slowly, he started talking to these 7 commanders and won their trust. Within a short time, he became their drinking partner and started drinking alcohol with them every day. In fact, one day, Ajit Doval invited them to his home and organized a party, serving them pork. Ajit Doval's wife didn't even know that the people she was cooking for were militants sitting in their home. When Ajit Doval won the trust of these commanders entirely, he tried to explain to them that they should join hands with India by any means possible. He told them that if they joined India, Mizoram would be declared a separate state. They would be given ministerial positions, and the small issues of common people would also be resolved. If they didn't agree, it would lead to their damage. He warned them that the Indian army would enter the issue one day and end everything, leaving them with nothing. From the year 1972 to 1974, Ajit Doval continuously explained this to them and convinced 6 out of the 7 commanders to join him. As soon as 6 of the 7 commanders joined hands with India, Lal Denga became weak and was compelled to start peace talks with the Indian government. Saikat Datta, a journalist, interviewed Lal Denga, who himself said on record that Ajit Doval took 6 of his commanders, leaving him with no choice. Mizoram eventually became a separate state, and Lal Denga became its chief minister. Ajit Doval is credited for this achievement as well. Now, here Ajit Doval was in Mizoram, and at the same time Sikkim, which was a princely state, and its king, Palden Thondup Namgyal, gets stuck in the US's honey trap. The US had a CIA agent, Hope Cook, with whom he marries. Hope Cook, who was the US's CIA agent, becomes the Queen of Sikkim. And well, Sikkim starts running according to the US's instructions, which fulfilled the US's interests. Now, to deal with this, Indira Gandhi talks to the head of R&AW, R.N. Kaur, and sends him to Sikkim. R.N. Kaur makes a plan in which they'll support small local parties of Sikkim, make them big, and fuel them against the king. And when the king becomes weak and doesn't have the support of the common people, then he'll be removed from his position. Otherwise, if they do something now, the common people will get enraged, and the plan will work against India. Now, Sikkim's small political parties, whom they had to support and turn against the king to gain the support of the common people. This task was given to Ajit Doval, and as soon as Ajit Doval receives the task, he makes a plan. there was a local unit of the Congress Party in Sikkim, the Sikkim National Congress, whose leader was Kazi Lhendup Dorji. He talks to him, sets him up, and everything is done as per plan. And within a very small amount of time, local people start supporting the leader of the Sikkim National Congress, Kazi. Now to establish his political party, make it big and gain people's support. All the money and every type of support was given to Kazi by Ajit Doval. And with all this help, Kazi was successful in getting the support of the local people. He pressurizes the king and holds elections in Sikkim. And along with it, he wins the election and becomes the Prime Minister of Sikkim. He becomes Prime Minister because, until that particular time, Sikkim hadn't merged with India. Now, as per plan, after a few days of Kazi becoming the Prime Minister of Sikkim, he writes a letter to Indira Gandhi and asks for help, stating that the situation in Sikkim is getting worse, and the king is snatching away rights from the people and hurting them. And then, from this side, Indira Gandhi sends the military, and the king and his entire palace are seized. And when everything comes under control, a referendum is held in Sikkim, in which 97% of the people vote in support of India. And with the 36th Amendment of the Sikkim Constitution, on the 16th of May 1975, it becomes a state of India. And as promised, Kazi Lhendup Dorji becomes the Chief Minister of Sikkim. Now all these situations get out of the hands of the US and come under India's control. So, the CIA agent divorces the king and goes back to the US. Now what Ajit Doval had done in Mizoram and Sikkim back to back regarding this, he is given the President's Police Medal, which is generally given after a service of 14 years. But Ajit Doval did such a thing that an exception was made for him, and this award was given to him within 7 years. Actually, at this time, India had performed a nuclear test. Now watching this, Pakistan, with the help of France and China, started working on their own nuclear test. But after some time, France came to know that Pakistan was planning a nuclear test. So France backed off, but China didn't. And at this time, Pakistani officials had even started going to North Korea back-to-back regarding the nuclear test. When Indira Gandhi came to know that Pakistan was planning a nuclear test, she called R and AW and IB's team and gave them the task. Whatever Pakistan is doing, you should find out about it and try to stop it anyhow. Without losing any time, Indian intelligence agencies started sending their secret agents to Pakistan and China. At that time, when agents were sent, they were called by showing a vacancy in the Indian embassy. So, Ajit Doval was also sent to Pakistan as a first secretary in the Indian embassy. Ajit Doval lived in Pakistan for almost 6 to 7 years, during which time he even found intel as a spy. Like the nuclear program that was going on in Pakistan's Kahuta, he used to roam around in the guise of a beggar. Our RNAW's video, in which there was the incident of picking up hair from a barber shop and sending it to India, and planting an Indian personnel in Pakistan's nuclear test lab who was asking for money. Ajit Doval was also involved in all these incidents with R and AW. The entire time Ajit Doval lived in Pakistan, he helped India in many operations. And during this period, he was even caught twice. Once, when he was going to the famous Aulia's Mazar in Islamabad, a man stopped him and asked about his ear piercing. Secondly, while listening to Qawwali, a man told him that his fake beard was coming loose. These were the 2 incidents, and the rest of the time, he kept providing his intel back to back. Now, after this, a lot of chaos was going on in India. Regarding the Bhindranwale incident, Operation Blue Star had been launched, and the way in which the Golden Temple was harmed, the Sikh community was very outraged. The government was on the back foot. Indira Gandhi had lost her life, and before the government could understand anything, after some time in the year 1988, the CM incident happened again. Like during the time of Operation Blue Star, militants had entered the Golden Temple. Similarly, in the year 1988, Khalistani Commando Force, Bhindranwale Tiger Force of Khalistan, and Baba Khalsa's militants came and sat in Golden Temple room number 14. This time, the militants knew that the government could not operate inside the temple because they had to face severe consequences for the operation they had carried out earlier. At this time, Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister. He didn't want to make any other mistake and said that they needed to bring out the militants who entered the temple anyhow. Bring the situation under control, but nobody will go inside the Golden Temple, nor will anyone attack. While all these things were going on, Ajit Doval was in Pakistan, sending intel connected to Punjab back to the agencies in Punjab. When it was decided that these people needed to be removed and an operation needed to be carried out, Ajit Doval was called back. This entire operation was headed by KPS Gill and Ajit Doval, and this operation was called Operation Black Thunder. The CRPF had surrounded the Golden Temple and were in position, but nobody knew what they had to do next. So Ajit Doval took the guise of a rickshaw man and started roaming around the Golden Temple. He began gathering all the information from around the Golden Temple. After some days, Ajit Doval decided that without going inside the Golden Temple, it would be impossible to complete this difficult operation because without going inside and knowing their exact location, the operation couldn't be completed. Since he had already lived in Pakistan, his Urdu was very good, and so was his accent. He went inside and talked with the militants, telling them that he was sent by Pakistan's ISI to help them. After talking to them about multiple things, he convinced the militants that he was from Pakistan. After going inside, he told the militants that the officers were standing in certain positions and that this time, the government was scared. The militants were very happy to get information about the surroundings of the Golden Temple. After this, Ajit Doval started going in and out of the Golden Temple, and even the militants didn't have any problem. They thought that Ajit Doval was sending information from outside, which would help them carry out their operation better. After collecting information about the positions and details from inside, Ajit Doval told them to call NSG commandos. On the same day, at night, with an IL-76 plane, NSG commandos were called. They were called in the form of police uniform, and the CRPF, who were already there, were replaced by NSG commandos. After this, Ajit Doval told the team of NSG about the positions of the militants, how many were there, who the leader was, and what the plan was. He explained everything. Along with it, Ajit Doval cut off water and electricity since it was very hot inside. The plan was that when the militants came out to drink water, they would be aimed at and killed. When everything was done, on May 15th, the top commander of the militants, Jagir Singh, momentarily came to drink water. As soon as he came out, a sniper shot him. With no water to drink, no electricity, and the extreme heat, many days passed. Their leader was also killed, so the morale of the militants inside was broken down. Ajit Doval was also going inside and outside, so he went inside and told the militants that the best decision would be to surrender. After multiple discussions, Ajit Doval convinced all the militants to surrender. On May 18th, all the militants surrendered. Without a weapon, convincing so many people to surrender wasn't easy. Even if they had doubted him even a bit when Ajit Doval was going inside, it was certain that he would lose his life. But taking such a huge risk to carry out the entire operation profoundly, Ajit Doval was praised a lot. After this operation ended, Ajit Doval was sent to the embassy in London in the year 1992. Ajit Doval lived there for many years and helped India in different operations. And a year later, on December 24, 1999, a plane of Indian Airlines IC-814 was headed from Nepal Airport to Delhi Airport. There were around 170 to 180 passengers. As soon as this plane entered Indian airspace, a terrorist group, Harkat-ul-Mujahideen, whose 5 Pakistani terrorists hijacked the airplane. At that particular time, it wasn't clear where they would take it, but the plane's pilot was told to head towards Pakistan. The pilot said that there wasn't enough fuel, so they discussed it for a bit and decided that first they would land the plane in Amritsar to fill up the fuel and then head again because the passengers were under their control. They were very confident that the government would not be able to do anything. As per plan, they landed the plane in Amritsar, but it took too much time, and they even doubted that the Indian government was planning something. Then they took the plane from Amritsar and landed it in Pakistan. When their government didn't agree, they landed it in Dubai. They refueled it there, and on December 25, 1999, they landed it in Kandahar, Afghanistan. When India got to know about it, an officer from the Indian embassy who was posted in Islamabad, A.R. Ghanshyam, was sent to Kandahar by the Indian government to coordinate with their government and gather details of the hijack. The terrorists threatened A.R. Ghanshyam to tell the Indian government to make a team and send them so that they could discuss their demands. When A.R. Ghanshyam conveyed this to the Indian government, without any delay, the Indian government made a team of 7 negotiators and sent them to Kandahar, purposely including Ajit Doval in this team. The first reason was that from 1971 to 1999, Ajit Doval had negotiated in more than 15 hijackings. Secondly, the Indian government had a lot of trust in him to handle the situation in any way. This team reached Kandahar, and Ajit Doval started negotiating. The terrorists kept changing their demands, so firstly, Ajit Doval told them to be specific to one demand, otherwise the situation would worsen. After this, the terrorists wrote all their demands on a paper and threw it out of the plane. It was written on that paper that the 36 militants kept in India's prison should be released along with $200 million. In the beginning, it was denied that this demand would be fulfilled. But the problem was that there was a lot of pressure on India. The families of the passengers and the media were surrounding the government from all sides. On top of it, if the government planned any operation, they had to use Pakistan's airspace to perform it. And India didn't trust Pakistan. Even the Afghan people were involved, so if they had planned anything, all the details would have reached the hijackers. Even if they planned to remove them, there were high chances that they would explode the entire plane, and all the passengers would lose their lives. So, there was no possibility of an opening. Anyhow, Ajit Doval held multiple discussions with them and convinced them to agree that not 36, but 3 of the terrorists would be released. After talking, the terrorists even agreed to him. Then Ajit Doval rescued the passengers in exchange for 3 terrorists, but it was a very huge setback for India. Now, after this incident, Ajit Doval made national security even stronger to deal with such situations. To strengthen national security even more, different steps were taken, including the formation of the Multi-Agency Center, MAC, and the Joint Task Force on Intelligence, JTFI. Now, all these things were going on, but in the year 1998, since the BJP government had started ruling, discussions began that Ajit Doval was a close friend of BJP's Home Minister, Lal Krishna Advani. At that time, LK Advani made Ajit Doval's reporting to him, and by watching this closeness, the rest of the senior officers in opposition